Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 23 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 30 today for the Austrian Grand Prix in Season 2. If you guys did miss the previous one at the Canadian GP, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. We had quite the comeback drive after a very difficult wet qualifying. At the start, got put on the grass and really had to fight our way back, but eventually things came through. The car showed its strengths around Montreal. I mean, the same place we won our first ever race in Season 1, and it was a very solid comeback to limit the damage versus Lando Norris, who went on to win his second race of his F1 career in this alternate F1 universe of ours, and his second of his Red Bull racing career. He tops the championship. Meanwhile, whilst Verstappen is flagging, so the power dynamic definitely looks like it's shifted a little bit, and Lando Norris has landed on his feet at Red Bull Racing. Whilst for us, we try and make the most of this car whilst it's at the top of its game. The best engine on the grid, pretty good aerodynamics, only falling down to Red Bull and maybe one other team. Chassis maybe still needs some work, but we have opened up Spec 3. But at the moment, we're playing it cautious on saving up R&D. And I'm actually going to go ahead and purchase an engine fuel upgrade just to make sure we can run this car as low as possible on the kilograms of fuel going in. That will also help our teammate as well. I think after this upgrade, that now they bought that, I think we're, just under 1.5k R&D. I think now is the time to maybe look forwards towards saving for one of those big last chassis upgrades on the weight reduction, for example, or maybe even the tyre wear. Durability at this stage is also something we need to look at because engine wear has been a bit high, but I also do want to maybe just plow on through a few more practice programs to try and, minimize the cost of those upgrades. So we're just kind of playing it as we go, a bit cautious, just kind of going one race at a time to assess where we need to be placing our R&D with this car. At this stage, it's still looking good though as we head into the Austrian Grand Prix. Those brake upgrades we bought last episode have come in. It's a small minor upgrade that does get us a slightly bit closer to Red Bull. But you can see the whole grid is kind of in this holding pattern of not too much movement apart from Haas, Aston Martin and Alpine. Alpine getting closer as ever to McLaren, and Aston Martin and Haas leapfrogging Ferrari and Mercedes. The surprising one being Haas there, as they're now in the top 4, kind of giving us some familiar kind of sights to as we had on last year's F1 22 game with Haas improving there, but Aston Martin as well up there. So Mercedes and Ferrari might have a tougher time around the Austrian GP. The Red Bull Ring, it's a sprint race as well, so double the trouble maybe in the sprint and the full race. But for us, we're here now into Friday qualifying. Overcast conditions at the moment, but I think the rain thankfully should be staying away for the entire race weekend. And this was a track that certainly last season did suit us at this point, where we were looking very good on engine power, and again in Season 2 we are looking good on engine power, but we've also got the downforce and the aero to match. The chassis is there or thereabouts. It hasn't been causing us too many problems. I think qualifying in Canada was a surprise to us, but I think that's because of the delta time of improvement by the AI in the quali, as we're now up in P11 in Q1, Ricciardo up there in P7, but it's very close, 7/10 covering the top 14 is a very close grid order, but it looks like Lando Norris is looking sharp in Red Bull. Sainz as well on the Ferrari, and also you may have not noticed, but both Haas cars did actually make it through into Q2, just about. They were in P15 and 16, so they're off that qualifying result page, so let's see what they can do. For us, this is our second consecutive lap on this set of soft tyres. It's red first sector, surprisingly, purple the second, as we find about a quarter of a second alone to get up into second place ahead of Gasly, Ricciardo, Bottas, behind Russell, so some big names yet to set their lap times. But as we go on towards the end of the session, things are looking good. In the last minute, I'm in third place, 1.3 tenths off, and all of a sudden, at the end of Q2, as the results screen comes in, we have been absolutely hoodwinked once again by the simulated last second lap time changes for the AI. We've gone from 1/10 behind P1 Russell to 5/10. I don't know where these AI are finding this time right at the death. Maybe my mistake. I should have known better in terms of being way too overconfident, but I really thought 1/10 off P1 for a lot of that session. I really thought that was going to be enough, and the track evolution and the just AI simulation evolution was unreal there. So we're knocked out in Q2. We're going to start the sprint race in P12. At least it's a sprint, so we can make up for it, make up positions, and get a better grid slot for the full Grand Prix on Sunday, and maybe hopefully score some points also to limit the damage. And limit the damage we have to, because Lando Norris is up there in P1 on pole for the sprint. It's a 1-2 lockout for Red Bull Racing actually going into this sprint race, so we're going to have to really pull up our socks. You know, Ricciardo as well, he outqualified me. He's starting P7, so he's got to play a part to play in this in terms of our constructors fight. But you saw there on the race director screen, the 2 Red Bulls have opted for softs, the rest on mediums, so that pushes me to choose the soft tyre myself. We have to go aggressive if we want to try and come back, and if the 2 Red Bulls on the front row are choosing softs, we're going to go for it as well and match them as we go to lights out for this sprint at Austria. And Valtteri Bottas very much doesn't get underway off the 5 red lights as we now overtake Leclerc as well, looking to the inside of Alonso. Bit of contact, the Spaniard taps us a bit to the inside. We have to take evasive action over the curbs. We're now 3 wide with the Aston Martin and the Haas of Magnussen, as the Haas cars getting involved in these top 10 fights with improvements. We're still going to be 3 wide with them as we go through to the next right-hander, but we make the double overtake on Alonso, and Magnussen actually gets ahead of Fernando as well as we now look towards Alexander Albon, and it's a punchy dive bomb, and to my surprise we actually made that. I didn't actually think we were going to make that overtake work, but lo and behold, Albon versus ourselves on the softs just didn't have the grip there. Ricciardo's done well. He's got up 2 places from P7 up to P5, so this is pretty good progress, but we want to make further progress. As you can see, Norris still in P1, Verstappen P2, both on those soft tyres. We need to use the same softs to good use to get past these guys, as we see Russell going for the overtake on Ricciardo. We have a little bit of an oversteer moment as we're trying to really push on early on in this sprint. Look for the double toe off Russell, off Ricciardo. We're now 3 wide on the outside this time of this same right-hander where we overtook Magnussen and Alonso. We overtake Russell and Ricciardo in one foul swoop up into P5, and that is exactly why the soft tyre was the right decision for us. But as we go on through the laps, lap 5, Norris and Verstappen very much controlling the 1-2 they have. 3 and 4 though up for debate, as we've got Sainz versus Hamilton. Sainz getting up into P3. I kind of almost need Sainz and Hamilton to fight that little bit more just so we can close up. And Ricciardo, well, I don't know what's happened to him. He's fallen off a cliff on the mediums. It's not tyre wear. I suspect maybe some damage, and it very much is damage on lap 7 because he's pitting in a sprint race. It's a disaster for our teammate. That's going to mean he's going to start tomorrow's Grand Prix very much down the order. I don't know what actually was causing his lack of pace before the damage. Clearly, lap 7, it was a broken front wing. But before that, the way he just fell away from P6 down to P10, it was very baffling. Don't really understand why, but it is just how it's gone through as we continue to try and bridge this gap to Hamilton. The gap is down from about 2.5 to 1.9. We are making some slow progress, but is there enough laps in the race? There might be now, because there is a red flag. For the 2nd season in a row, there's a red flag in the Austrian GP sprint. And that's going to slow everything down for a moment and reset us. But let's take a look at what actually caused that red flag. A red flag that actually might come through to really transform this race for us. It's all on Pierre Gasly, who spins it in Sector 2. He's round, and there's a lot of oncoming cars, and a couple of them can't avoid him. And Gasly reverses into the Haas. He reverses across the racing line, almost makes some more contact. There's 2 Williams in the gravel, and you can kind of see with that amount of chaos there, fair play. That's why the red flag's out. So we go again to 5 red lights. Lap 10. There's only 3 laps left of this sprint, and Verstappen has a howler. Oh my god, Verstappen has stalled off the lights. That's the only way I can describe it, as he falls down 6-7 positions. We overtake Hamilton at turn 1, all of us on fresh soft tyres that we can change onto. So the red flag helping us out in terms of grid position and having a chance to catch up, but also giving us another fresh set of soft tyres to go and attack the cars ahead and attack them with we will, as Sainz tried to have a go for Norris for the lead. Instead, now he's fallen foul of ourselves as we squeeze him to the inside, go back to the racing line and get up into P2. And all of a sudden, onto the last lap of this sprint, as myself and Lando trade purple lap times, we've now got a chance to win this sprint race and therefore get pole position for tomorrow's full Grand Prix. The red flag has been a miracle worker here. I mean, it helped out in terms of Verstappen stalling. We got a good start. We got Hamilton. Sainz fell on himself, really, as he tried to attack Norris. He kind of compromised his own line, and it's now invited us to make this very move with DRS on the inside. Lando does well to outbrake us as we jockey the position. We get the elbow out, though, and we get up into first place of the Austria sprint. Here at the Red Bull Ring, we have worked miracles from P12 to P1 in the sprint race. Massive thanks to the red flag, of course, but what a turnaround. What a turnaround. And this is the kind of sprint, this is the kind of race you need in a championship fight to turn things around, especially, you know, despite your car being a bit slower than the Red Bull. We've come out on top, we've won the sprint, and we're on pole for tomorrow's race. What a sprint, what a sprint. Thank you very much, Pierre Gasly. I was really hating him in our F1 manager career recently when he took out Lando at Baku, but here on F1 23, Gasly spinning does us a solid as we get the P1 and pole. Leclerc with a DNF in that race, down at the bottom. Ricciardo as well, that pit stop, he's going to be low. For us, we're in the best possible seats to now try and get one over on Lando Norris when the points really make a difference, because this is only 1 point we've gained on him, but tomorrow we could gain quite a lot, and as a team as well. I know Daniel Ricciardo's down the order, but Verstappen's down in P10. What a shocking getaway that was from P2 to P10 in 3 laps because of his stall off the 5 red lights. Incredible scenes for us, for everyone to witness, as we go now to the grid for the full Grand Prix.
Good afternoon and welcome to Spielberg, and to a circuit that in one form or another has held every Austrian Grand Prix in the championship except the very first back in 1964. It was at this race that John Watson lost a bet and his beard when he took Team Penske's only F1 victory in 1976. If anything, the stakes are even higher today, with 25 points available for victory and a crucial advantage in the championship fight. It's one of the shortest laps on the calendar today then, with 7 rights and just 3 lefts, making up the 10 corners of this high-speed circuit. Turn 2 is barely a corner at all. They'll be flat out through there, a left-hand kink into the uphill braking zone of Turn 3. Turns 1, 3 and 4 are all potential opportunities to overtake. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. It's the owner-driver then in pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Russell, Bottas, Verstappen, Sargent, Gasly, Joe, Tsunoda, Ricciardo, Hulkenberg, Stroll, Magnussen, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, Perez, Liam Lawson, Albon, and Charles Leclerc completes today's grid order. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Also here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. We should talk about Williams. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
In prime position for this Grand Prix, but it's not going to be easy. Lando Norris and that Red Bull, they are the quicker car. We saw that in Montreal, and we saw it really in the sprint as well. If it wasn't for that red flag, we wouldn't have been anywhere near that 1-2 being on the same compound tyre. So I'm worried here from pole position. We might have a lot of work cut out to try and keep the Red Bull at bay. Even Sainz, Mercedes, they looked a bit punchy as well. What is going on there? It's 4 wide with the ghosted cars on the formation lap there. Everyone very keen to get to their grid slot, as we're taking our time, taking it easy, and we're going to line up our car facing a little bit right to try and pinch in Lando off the lights if he gets the jump on us. But hopefully we can get a good exit off this pole position well earned from the sprint as we go to 5 red lights. The full Austrian Grand Prix is underway, and it's a beautiful start for us. We absolutely nail it. We go to the right, go back to the racing line, and take a nice easy run into turn 1 as Carlos Sainz has actually got into second place. So Lando really didn't get off the mark that well, and the Ferrari is in second place. Lando trying to come back at him straight away. Then it's Hamilton, Alonso, Sargent in P6 in the Haas. Would you believe it? Incredible stuff there for Haas and the American driver. As on to lap 2, Sainz is 4 tenths behind us and putting on the pressure. And even that Ferrari is pretty damn quick here around Austria, and with the DRS eventually on lap 3, that will be probably an issue for us, as here we are then on lap 3, Sainz right up our chuff, but into turn 1 he locks up. This Spaniard makes an error. This was the first opportunity for him to get the DRS open on us, and he's fumbled it, and it's now Hamilton and Norris hounding him as Norris is on the outside, Hamilton to the inside. It's 3 wide, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, and Lando Norris plays that beautifully and goes around the outside of both of them to get up into second place. But this is now the worry. He's in clean air, he's in that Red Bull, and he's going to come knocking, and it's a very strong car. I actually looked on the aero on the R&D chart. On the aero side, Red Bull are actually comfortably ahead of anyone on aero. So the only thing we have going for us is our straight line speed and the chassis, which kind of maybe mid-corner can help us. But here comes Lando with DRS of his own, and he is past us, and he actually places his car really well to annoy us into turn 1. We couldn't do the full switch from left to right like I wanted to. Now we'll go for the re-overtake. DRS open. Lando is going to squeeze us right to the edge. He really did not want to give up the inside line, but we weren't having any of it. We kept our foot in, and we've kept our nerve as we re-overtake the P1. Maybe we had to use a bit more battery than I wanted. The Red Bull actually pulls alongside it pretty damn well. So that Red Bull, it's even got some straight line speed, but as we kick the tail out a little bit just to scare him off at the corner exit, he's still going to be all over us on lap 8. And here he comes knocking in a similar way we did. We're going to squeeze him to the inside there, but instead he gets fully alongside. We get back to the racing line. A little bit of contact as it's getting a little frosty, you could say, here at the Red Bull ring versus the Red Bull. We look to make the switch. Lando, oh, he's blocked us. He's blocked us. It's getting real frosty. We get to the racing line. The gloves are off. The gloves are off. That serve was very cheeky. That was a massive block. I'm going to remember that one. That was, wow, okay, it's getting very cagey here at the Red Bull ring. Lando's still all over the back of this as we invite him in a little bit in Sector 2 because I'm really poor through that left-hander where I just understeer every time. And the Red Bull is sending it to the inside. He seems to have much better acceleration, just pure traction in the middle part of this circuit. And traction is what we're lacking as we almost stuff it into the wall. Opposite lock, caught the car, and now under pressure. Sainz on the inside, 3 wide into turn 1, not going to end well. The Ferrari has hit the Red Bull off circuit. We've avoided both of them somehow, and what? We've got an illegal overtake on Norris. Of all people, the man who got punted off wide. Okay, makes a lot of sense, FIA. Thank you very much. So all of a sudden now, Verstappen, of all people, takes the lead. Alonso second. We're fighting Norris for third to re-overtake him after letting him by for illegally overtake. You can't see me, but I'm air quoting, illegally overtaking him somehow, even though we just avoided a collision, basically, that Sainz caused, and the Spaniard is now down to P6. It's really kicked off here at the Austrian GP, and somehow, out of all of this, Verstappen is the one that leads, the man who stalled it in the sprint. He was down in P10 at the start of this race, and we're still having this epic battle with Lando Norris as Sainz is coming in now, and oh no, Russell gets tagged. I could kind of see that coming from a mile off. It happens so often here in Austria on the F1 game. And one of the cars comes in. He's going slowly. The racing line cuts the pit entry. And Russell is out. And that has caused a full safety car, which we're going to come in for. To my surprise, Verstappen, Alonso, Norris, they all don't come in. They've all stayed out under this safety car. Myself, Hamilton, Gasly, and others are coming in. A lot of people are actually coming in, but the top 3 stay out now. Very, very surprising. I don't know what they're playing at. We've gone for a very good pit stop, 2.4. Unfortunately, Ricciardo also came in, so he has a bit of a double stack. That's unfortunate, but can't do too much about that. But we've opted to go on the hard tyres, and we've come out in P6. So this free pit stop is going to work out very well for us. We've not even lost that many positions. We're only 3 positions back, and now we're on tyres that could technically go to the end of the race or go to the wet period, because there is actually a forecast for some rain later on right at the end of this race. And these guys who have not pit may be in trouble. Stroll and Bottas, unfamiliar names ahead of us. I mean, Stroll for sure, definitely. I mean, Bottas we've raced a few times this season, but Stroll in the Williams doing really well here in P5. He's actually on the back of Bottas and actually got away from me off turn 1. That might just be the hard tyres heating up a little bit. Eventually, we do get the traction going on the Williams and completely do him with the switchback from left to right to get up into P5, and we're not going to waste any time at making a diving, darting and commanding overtake on Bottas round the outside for P4. But lap 14, we're going to be now on the back of Lando Norris, and these 3, it's now even more so than ever becoming very puzzling why they didn't choose to pit under the safety car, as we're now wheel to wheel with Norris. He does well to keep alongside of us. I don't want to use too much battery in overtaking him, because I know I have the overwhelming pace, because these hard tyres, well, for one, they're not as worn out as the mediums, and if you saw last episode, and many, many episodes, for some reason in this series, this My Team car of ours just goes so well on hards. It's very, very odd to speak about, but it just goes so much better and consistent on hard tyres as we make a lovely overtake on Alonso. He almost just pretty much gives us the position, because he knows it's a bit futile, because we set the fast lap of the Grand Prix now on lap 16, 20 laps to go on tyres that could get to the end or could get to the wet period. Verstappen is here in P1, yet to pit off the mediums, and he's struggling here as he goes defensive. We go to the outside, but we take it very easy through the corner, because I don't need to, be over-aggressive. We just switch it from left to right, get the traction, DRS open, and we're up into P1. And really, Red Bull and Aston Martin will be questioning themselves of why on earth they didn't pit. Ricciardo even double stacked with us, and he's now benefiting even from coming in with that double stack as he overtakes Stroll himself. He's going to get past Valtteri Bottas, who peels into the pit. Sargent is ahead of him in the Haas, but he might even have to pit still as well. So before you know it, Ricciardo could be up in the top 3 here, nay, I say even second place, once these guys all make their pit stops, because Ricciardo's the lead man on hards after myself. I think you can see Gasly, Hamilton, Joe, they're all on hards as well, but there's this group of drivers who have now pit. Why didn't they come in? It's very, very silly looking back at it now that they didn't come in, because now Logan Sargent, of all people, is up in second place legitimately at the moment. He's on softs though, so I don't know if he pit onto softs under the safety car. Even if he did, he's not going to get to the end, so he's going to have to come in eventually. And so that means Ricciardo, who's in P3 right now, might get up into second place, as we see Norris down in P9 now, having made his pit stop, chasing after Leclerc. But he actually got out of it better than Verstappen and Alonso, because Norris went a little bit longer, I think, on the mediums, and he got an overcut, because Verstappen and Alonso, they pit a lap earlier than Lando, and they're down in P14 and 15, floundering, fighting the Sauber of Zhou Guanyu, whilst Norris is in P9, but even P9 still not that great compared to the 1, 2, 3 they had, so they're going to be really kicking themselves of why then they didn't make the most of that free pit stop, whilst Ricciardo will be rejoicing that he actually chose to come in, even with a double stack, because Sargent is now in. Like I said, he would have to come in off the softs, and so all of a sudden, look how it's turned up for AAR here today. It's a 1-2, myself from Daniel Ricciardo, Gasly in an insane P3 in the Alpine that has been going from strength to strength recently. But now at this stage of the Grand Prix, just hoping myself and Ricciardo can control this 1-2 from here on out. Oh no, there's a safety car. It's because of Perez crashing with someone into the pit entry. It's a copycat of the reason why we got the first safety car, and it's a second safety car today in the full GP. And under this second safety car, we're going to pit again because we already, you know, we rolled the dice. I trusted my gut instinct about pitting under the first safety car for the hard tyres, and now I'm trusting my instinct at pitting again, because we've got a new set of soft tyres in our banker, so we're going to come in for new softs, and by the time the safety car comes in, it will be the same distance as the sprint race, and we were prepared to do a whole sprint race on softs, so why not? We pit, and because everyone's going slower under the safety car, we've come out in P3, so we've not even lost that many positions. We've lost 2, and then it's a Gasly and Ricciardo, and on softs, I really think we should be comfortably catching and overtaking them off the restart here. So we're in a very, very good position, and it's all from trusting our gut at pitting when I think we should pit under these safety cars, going for it, going for the, you know, free pit stop, and it's come through. You know, I think maybe the two Red Bull drivers and Alonso, they maybe were overthinking it a little bit in terms of maybe it's too early to pit for the hards under the first safety car. It very much wasn't, and just like now, it's very much not too late to pit again onto softs, because we have that overwhelming pace. Gasly, to be fair to him, does put up a bit of a fight, more than I thought he would, to be honest, as he comes back at us. We're having to use a bit of battery to actually defend against the Alpine. So the Alpine actually really is looking a lot better these days compared to the very lackluster start to this season, as we have to really squeeze out Gasly to maintain the P2. But by lap 26, Ricciardo has stretched out his legs by 4 seconds to us in second place. Norris and Hamilton have now just overtaken Gasly. So Hamilton's P3, Norris in P4. To be fair, that's a good recovery from Lando. P9 to P4 in those couple of laps before that second safety car, and then on the restart he's really made a difference there to get back into the frame for maybe a podium. But for us right now, it's looking great for as a team. 1-2, Ricciardo's in first though, so let's try and see if we can swap that round in 10 laps time. Lap 26 to lap 36, we've got enough laps to do it. Do we have the grip to do it though? Because 3 laps later, we are right up behind Ricciardo, but you can see the rain has started to fall. It's very overcast. Ricciardo's rear end stepped out there through the final corner, so we've got a good run on him. DRS still available in the race as he goes defensive. We go to the outside for the move for P1, but we go way too hot into turn 1. It's a huge mistake as the damp circuit catches us out. We're actually quite lucky there's so much runoff area there at turn 1, because we almost went into the wall and into the mini gravel trap. That was just a case of I got way too confident with that move, because the track is damp. It's even damper now as the DRS is disabled. But Ricciardo, myself, and all of a sudden, Lando Norris, he's up into P3, and he's now within a second of us. But all 3 of us, we already crossed for a new lap whilst DRS got disabled, and generally speaking, DRS being disabled is when you want to switch to intermediate. So I think a lot of people behind us might be switching to inters already, but the top 5, Ricciardo down to Hamilton, all of us, we've left it too late. We have to go for another lap, and this time for the overtake on Ricciardo, we play it cautious. We wait for the traction zone to get up into P1, so we finally get that first place. But now it's a very different landscape of this race. It's very wet, and we need to now make a pit stop for inters, as Verstappen and a load of other cars, they're already in for inters, so they're going to gain a lot because we're all going so slow now. But Norris all over the back of Ricciardo. Could this be the end of the 1-2? Norris, to be fair to him, has made a brilliant recovery to get up into third place there as we make another mistake. No! Oh, God, we just narrowly keep it out the wall, but you can just see from that, it is treacherous conditions. It is treacherous. That is 2 high-profile errors. One trying to make the overtake for P1 earlier, and that was just, well, I got kind of caught out and just aquaplaned off that corner exit. We're very lucky again to still be in this race, but those mistakes are showing you how tricky it is, and even I just can't iron out those mistakes, basically, and they're just going to come in and creep in a little bit as Ricciardo's in, and we're going to have to double stack with him, and unfortunately, it's a bit of a slow stop. That front left definitely not on as quick as it could have been for Ricciardo, and it means Lando Norris has jumped him. So Norris is ahead of Ricciardo, but look at the top two, Albon and Leclerc, P1 and 2. Where have they come from? Did they make a pit stop early onto Inters? This man definitely did. Verstappen even overtakes me. He was down in P14 at the safety car restart, and he's just overtaken me. That's how much time the AI gained, pitting 1 lap earlier for intermediate. Oh! Lando Norris and the Ferrari have crashed. It's absolute pandemonium here at this corner. Everyone's going off. I've gone off. Verstappen's nearly gone off as well. So slippery out there, and it's a red flag because Leclerc has parked it on the curb. And to be honest, it just seems a little bit dangerous at that corner up the hill, as so many people were going off. Very, very slippery in the brake zone. And I noticed there the Ferrari of Leclerc, he wasn't hard, so that's why that crash happened. Ferrari kept Leclerc out on the dry tyres when it was that wet. Unbelievable stuff. So now we're going back for 5 red lights as the red flag restart gets underway. Albon on pole position. He's gained massively because he was also on the dry tyres, I'll have you know, and the red flag has allowed him just to pit onto Inters on the restart as we get up into P6. Sargent in a top 7 position in the Haas is still amazing, to be honest, as Leclerc has got a 10-second penalty. Not surprised. He was the one who caused the entire incident there with Norris still being on the dry tyres. He's overtaken Sargent as we overtake Gasly as we get up into P5. Ahead of us, it's Verstappen, Ricciardo. Second place is Hamilton, Albon, but not for too long because I think Hamilton just overtook Albon for the lead, I think. Lewis Hamilton, out of nowhere, is leading this race. Albon is down to third because Ricciardo's in second, and we now dive down the inside of Verstappen and Albon. Albon is struggling in these conditions. He's lost first place, he's gone down to fourth, and he actually held up Verstappen so much he boxed him in. So thank you very much, Albono. And as we go down the inside of Ricciardo, he's not going to put up too much of a fight. We're pretty good in these conditions actually at the moment, feeling out the circuit. We're up into P2. It's a double podium for myself and Ricciardo, but I'm looking to try and get that elusive win, the win that I think we should have had all along, had it not been for maybe, you know, us making those mistakes, overtaking Ricciardo earlier and being the second man behind in the pit box for the double stack. The red flag gave us a second chance to make up for that, but on the last lap, it's so dry, you may have noticed there, the DRS actually got reactivated. So if this Grand Prix had a couple more laps in it, we'd be going back to dry. So the rain is come and gone and caused chaos, and we are trying to close up to Hamilton, but he's just got enough to keep this through, and quite amazingly, completely out of nowhere, Mercedes are going to win this Austrian Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton is going to win this race.
That's it for another Grand Prix and a fantastic win for Mercedes. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Well, Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again.
Incredible stuff here as the reigning world champion, the 8-time world champion Hamilton, comes through all the chaos, uses all his experience to keep cool, calm and collected, and gets the P1 in Red Bull's backyard. And a Red Bull is not even on the podium. It's a double podium for myself and Ricciardo. Really fantastic work. It could have been a 1-2. Maybe it should have been a 1-2, but you know, the rain really did cause all the chaos with my mistakes, not getting P1, spinning just before the pit stop, then all that chaos into that third corner, I think it was, just at the end of Sector 1, red flag, and that again had its own chaos. Albon came through for still a pretty good result, 12 points on the board for him and Aston Martin. Verstappen recovers well. Norris out the points in that race, because although he wasn't out the Grand Prix, he lost a lot of positions with that altercation qualification with Leclerc. Logan Sargent got 6 points for Haas, and I think that's his first points ever in Formula 1. So take a bow for the American and the American team today. But we take the lead of the championship then, and a pretty decent one versus Lando Norris. Hamilton now gets up to P4 in the standings, not too far off Sainz in third. So is this Lewis starting his campaign maybe for the championship late on as we get to the halfway point, maybe just about? But either way, I mean, we lead, so we can't complain there. We lead the constructors as well, as Red Bull have a bit of a mare, and we have a very strong double podium. But through everything, it was just a very entertaining Austrian G. Austria is just always a mad one on the F1 game. It really is. Guys, if you have enjoyed it, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.